Hello, everyone. Good night. Good night. Welcome to another episode of JMB Goal Getter Live. I'm your host tonight. I'm Alwyn Cousins. I'm the head of corporate solutions at JMB. Yes, I know you're all accustomed to seeing Carrion Stimson as your host, but we're changing up things a little bit this month. Today, the 1st of September, and we've dubbed September as a special month in the series. And so we'll be doing a series on man talk this month. And so for the rest of this month, you'll be seeing or you'll be hearing from other JMB male team members on various topics. And so we just want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone joining us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and happy that you're here with us for this live stream. We took a break in August, and boy, it has been a year of uncertainties and trials with us trying to weather this pandemic. Just today I had to go to an orientation session with my first daughter, who actually started high school today. And things were just different, because COVID is here and it's real, guys. It's real. And so, as your financial partner, as you know, JMB is always here to give you financial advice and make the necessary lifestyle recommendations. And so, we're happy to have you as partners of the JMB team and group, the JMB group. So tonight we're talking fatherhood tonight. And we'll be joined by 3 fathers, and they will be giving their perspective on their role as a provider, a protector, and a role model. It's an interesting topic, and I'm looking forward for the discussions, and I'm also looking forward to getting some advice from them as father. As a father of 3 this year, even though it has been a rough year with the pandemic, it was also a good year for me, because this was a year I added to my journey. #boy-dad, because I had 2 girls before, and I know I welcomed my dad earlier, a son earlier this year. So I know that, I'm looking forward to hearing from the guests tonight. And so we'll be keeping it real as usual. We'll be taking your questions at the end of the show. And so tonight we have 3 guests joining us, and they are Christopher Walker, who is the CEO of JMB Fund Managers. Welcome, Chris, my colleague and brethren. And also we have the Marshall in town. We have Wayne Marshall joining us as well. Hey, Wayne, welcome, brother. And also we have Ibrahim Conte. He's also a banker and a promoter. Hey, IB, I'm going to call him IB. IB is known on Twitter as IB. So, hail up, man. Welcome, everyone. So, we're looking forward to having a very fruitful discussion tonight. As you know, as I said earlier, this session will be about, it's a man talk. We're going to be getting real this tonight, and we're going to talk about our experience as fathers. For me, my journey has been such a, it's one that I look forward to every day. It has its challenges, but it's one of the best jobs ever. Just being a father and taking care of your kids, nurturing them. And when I looked at my daughter entering high school, it brought me back to when I took her to preschool, because the memories kept coming back to me this morning. But it's something that we have to adapt to, and it's just a part of the journey. And when you see them grow in front of your eyes, it's just a beautiful thing. So I'm really looking forward to our discussions tonight. And so we're going to start off looking at the importance of fathers, their role in the family. And according to the website Pediatrics of Franklin.com, an involved father promotes inner growth and strength. Studies have shown that when fathers are affectionate and supportive, it greatly affects such as cognitive and social development. And it also instills an overall sense of well-being and self-confidence in the family. Because I mean, they look up, our children look up to us. I mean, they admire what we do, and as fathers, we just have to ensure that we're playing that role model. I mean, there's just this joy, and you know, when you see, I mean, when I look at my 4-month-old son and I see him just going through the various stages, it's just a joy to say, look, man, I have to work a little harder just to get them, to ensure that I'm protecting him and ensure that I'm giving all that he wants. And so I put a little bit more step in the, you know, prepping the step, and I ensure that whatever I'm doing, I do it a little harder just to ensure that they're comfortable and their well-being are being satisfied. So, I mean, we're looking forward to the discussions. Wayne, I'm going to ask a question for you. I have a question that I want to ask you tonight. And that is, you know, for persons who may not know you, tell us about your family structure and the role you play as a father.
Well, I'm Wayne Marshall, performer, writer, producer, and more recently, YouTuber. I'm a father of 4 children, 4 boys. So I'm a boy dad. GMR 14, Jackson 7, Atlas 3, Atlas 4, sorry, and Oz, who is just 1. And since the passing of my father, I have taken on the role of father figure for my younger brother, who is 17. He's Alex. So that is my family dynamic, you know. I consider being a father a job, you know. So just like any other job that I have, being a father is one of my jobs, and I have it as an obligation that I'm dedicated to. You know, I wake up in the morning and I think, how can I be a better man, a better role model, a better example for my children? And I think I've let people into my house, so I have this family vlog, and I think they can testify to the fact that I stand up in the lives of my fathers. I'm not afraid to be affectionate. My father wasn't the father that said, I love you, but he more demonstrated, I love you. You know, there was never a day when I thought that, you know, the love was anywhere gone, you know. So I'm just that father, you know, stand up in the lives of my boys and just be that that representation of what a good daddy is, you know.
Yes, thanks, Wayne. That sounds good. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I can relate to that. Definitely. Chris, I want to pose the same question to you as well, Chris. You know, just tell us about your family structure and the role you play as a father.
Well, I'm married 21 years this year, to a beautiful soul. You know, I met in Sunday school many moons ago. We have 2 children, a brilliant young lady, 17-year-old Abigail, and a very active and inquisitive 6-year-old boy. That makes me feel my age, trust me. My role, I do pretty much whatever is necessary. I do from breakfast to bedtime stories. I am the disciplinarian to co-conspirator, to be honest. Well, until my wife step in and, you know, reprimand us all. So I'm very much active in the lives of my children, and I think it's necessary because, as it is now, the role of a father, it's important. You know, it's an important building block in terms of how, you know, children grow. You know, the values that they ascribe to, the morals. You know, you have to stand your ground, you know, to ensure that they develop in the way that you'd want them to in the end. So yeah.
Hey, Ivy, just tell us as well, in terms of your family structure and as a father.
Yeah. So my family structure, I'm a single dad. I have my 6-year-old boy, Zion. He lives here with me in Maryland. While my 4-year-old daughter, Sierra, she lives in Jamaica with her mom. It's interesting because, you know, Sierra being in Jamaica, it makes things a little bit more difficult, but definitely more creative. So that means we have our weekend routine where we'll have our movie dates, with Zion. We'll stream Netflix, start whatever movie we're watching or whatever series we're watching at the same time. I'm an affectionate father to both kids because I didn't have my father in my life. I had my stepfather, similarly to Wayne's experience, where my stepfather, he was not an affectionate dad, but he showed love at all time. I didn't have to question his love for me. But I'm an affectionate dad, so I tell my kids every day, I love them. How many times do you love me, and so forth. And also, challenge certain stereotype that men aren't supposed to do, or father is not supposed to do this, or and to say, boy, a man is not supposed to cry or express certain emotions, etc.
Yes, and IB, in terms of your involvement as a father in the life of your children, how do you think that will impact them in the years to come in terms of you being nurturing them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's important because they need to know that that's if there's one male person that they can always count on. Their mom will always be there, but also they can count on their father. So that means me being there, not just physically, but in every way possible. It also means listening, because I was telling a friend a couple weeks ago, saying, I don't talk to my kids like baby talk, have conversations with them. Our kids are pretty smart, and it's not something that we should take for, it's a 6-year-old who don't understand. But Zion and Sierra, they are 6 and 4-year-old, age wise, but they're more like teenagers. So it's just being there, talking to them, and I'm very involved. It's just because of COVID. So this April was the first birthday that I've ever missed. It's just something I promised myself that no matter what, no matter how many different businesses or activities I'm involved in, I'll never miss a birthday, a graduation, or whatever it is. It's important that they can always count on you, even if anyone let them down. I won't be that person. I promised myself that from as a teenager. I said I can fail at anything in life. I can't fail as a parent.
So true, IB. I can relate to that definitely. And so I'm going to also pose the same question to Wayne because I know Wayne has a big son and then he has, in terms of your involvement, how do you think that would impact them in the years to come in terms of your involvement in their life?
Well, science has proven it, but we never need science to prove that we'll always be better off with a solid dad in their life, playing that role as man, playing that role as disciplinarian, provider, Just, I'm not the type of father to try and lead by opinion, but more so by example. I try to be the type of father that I would want them to be. So I want them to see me in as many scenarios as possible so they can know, okay, that's what daddy would do, and that's what daddy does. When he's dealing with people, he deals with them this way. And, so if I want them to respect people, then I have to be that example of respect for them to observe. So, yeah, as I say, it goes without saying, there's nothing like the stability of a mother and a father in the lives of their children. Obviously, a father is more, look on as a more towering, the tone of voice is more, I guess, a little bit more firm. So sometimes some children go wayward. Sometimes it's that them need. Them just need a man voice to say, oi, man, what you do?
Yeah.
To just kind of get them back in line. And as I say, science prove it, life prove it. We have to be there. We have to stand up, present in the lives of our children.
Yeah, for real. Chris, so I know you have a teenager and you have a little son as well. In terms of your involvement, and I am now getting used to, because I'm used to girl dad, I'm now a boy dad. My son is just 4 months now, but I'm looking forward to see the difference between raising up a girl versus a boy. You've had that opportunity. how do you think your involvement in their life will know? I mean, how would they look at it in years to come?
Alwyn, the truth is with kids, you really never know. It's like, taking a leap of faith. You plant a seed, you nurture it, you prune the tree, and you do your best by it, but in the end, you just hope it bears good fruit. My involvement is with the hope that, I'm able to look at my daughter and say, that's my girl. Look at my son and say, I'm proud of who you are as an individual. And this is something that I reinforce periodically as they grow. I'd like to think that, I would have given them the tools, because at the end of the day, they are going to be ones out there in the world. I would like to think that I would have given them the tools to deal with whatever life throws at them, that they are humble individuals, that they are respectful to all, values that I reinforce, often, that they are confident, while they're growing up, knowing that, daddy has always been there and has always been saying, boy, you can do this, and critical and very important to me is for them to be comfortable in their own skin, know who you are, what you're about, what you stand for, and be empowered to go after their passions. So these are just the traits that I reinforce and encourage, irrespective of, boy or girl. These traits transcend all, and it's critical. So for me, I would love 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, just looking back, at my kids and how they represent themselves, to say, okay, fine, we know where that is coming from. That would make me very, very proud.
Yes, and I'm seeing some excellent comments coming in from our channels. I've seen, I want to hail up some of the people on YouTube, Facebook. I see Camille, Deon, Shanique, Allison. I've heard that name. So I think she's a VIP here. Camilla, Diane, Bella, welcome guys. Happy that you're enjoying the discussion. We're looking forward to, more comments. So send me, like the page, share as much as you can. I'm happy to see all the comments coming in. Great guys. Continue to send all your comments in. So Wayne, in terms of, who was your role model for being a father? If you could share that with us, and what did they do to influence you?
Well, apart from my father being definitely the main role model, I had a second father who was King Jammy's, Lloyd James, King Jammy's, who was my mentor in the music, but he was also a father to a lot of my friends. We were very close, to a close-knit family. He lived down the road from me, so I spent a lot of time with them. And just his journey in life and his discipline and his work ethic was really an example of a true father. He was a man where spawned out of a trying situation, a real ghetto man, and he built himself up over the years till he buy him dream house in Hope Pastures and created a legacy for himself. And just the way how he went about creating and being that provider was an example, to talk about, man. I'm telling you, that man was just against all the odds, really rose to the occasion of being a father, and I always loved his example.
Ivy, who was your role model, and how did they influence you?
I would say different persons, but it was when Wayne was just talking about King Jammy's. I remember when I was at Monroe, one of the best examples that I saw from someone was Dr. Peter Phillips. At the time, his son Luke just started Monroe, and I remember every weekend he would come up to every other weekend he would come up there, and they would go for long walks, and they would just be talking for like an hour or two. And I remember saying that, when I get older, that's the type of relationship that I want to build with my kids, where, we talk. So, I don't ever want to be that parent where my kids are afraid to come and tell me things because, I don't have that relationship with that. So, so having that balance of, yes, being a disciplinarian, but also being that friend, so to speak, that they're comfortable with, that they can talk to, that you can pass on whatever life lesson to them. So, you know, I remember just from that time, that point in time, you know, it really stood to me to say, okay, you know, that's the type of father that I want to be. And that's something that I do even now, say in the evenings, and especially on weekends, you know, when I go for a walk with Zion, or if I'm with Sierra, you know, we'll just go for a long walk and just have conversation, just talk. No phones, nothing, you know, just us just having conversation and just talking.
And
Yes.
that was in no way, a political plug, by the way.
Yeah, I wondered myself. Right. For those dads, soon to be dads joining us, seasoned dads, I mean fathers to be, I hope you're finding the discussion very useful. Because I remember, and when Ivy spoke about the walk in the park, that is something, I look forward, and I'm sure Chris can relate to this. Prior to COVID,
Oh yeah.
when we're at work and we have to go to the pickup, I find the pickups at school and taking them back to the nursery, because at JMB there's a nursery. I find that is the best time that you can connect with the children. The conversations there, and they tell you everything. And when you're sitting in traffic, it's just it's refreshing. And I used to look forward to just picking up my girls, and they were having a conversation, heading back to the nursery, and just what they will share, and they tell you how their day was and what they're looking forward to. And the conversation, and sometimes when the traffic is moving a little bit too fast, I say, like slow down, because I wanted to hear more conversation from them, So it's really good to connect with those children. So I'm going to ask Chris this question now, because I know prior to COVID, and we're all working from home now, things kind of change up a little bit, because prior to the summer break, we had to be getting accustomed to homeschooling and getting the kids prepared, and you have to be balancing work and getting the kids prepared. And I know the mothers are also there as well, but we get involved as well. And that's what I want Chris to share with us in terms of how do you balance working and schooling the kids. Work-life balance, basically.
Alwyn, this is the reality kicking in at this particular point in time. COVID has redefined how we approach things, and certainly it has impacted the family as well. My kids take priority. My family takes priority, and I'll plug for JMB to say that I work with a company that supports the family structure. So it makes it a little bit easier, but nonetheless, we're professionals and the work is there. What COVID has done now is to put us in the home context, and my 6-year-old will be knocking on the door and say, "Daddy, you haven't played with me." And that is like 9 o'clock. Then he comes back at 10. "Daddy, you don't play with me." 11 o'clock, he comes back. "Daddy, I'm feeling sad." And by then it's now playing on my context. So the dynamic has really shifted. So I'm finding that now, after me making time during the day, before, when I was at work, it was, about when you get home, or, as Alwyn said, when you pick up, or when I'm dropping off in the mornings, traffic heavy in Kingston. So there's always the conversations. The home situation now has made life a little bit more interesting. So I find I have to be carving out a 15 minutes, a 10 minutes, or just to say, come and sit in my lap a little bit, and I'll type under the work while he's there and he's playing his game, and then I start, that I have to go now. So I force myself not to just say I am at work or I'm busy. I try to accommodate as best as I can, answer the questions, or I say, "Boy, come, can I talk to you a little bit later?" And then if I say that, it's like a commitment. So I make sure that I go back and I say, "Okay, fine. Remember, you came to me earlier." And this goes for my elder child as well. you know, I always try to follow up as best as I can to make sure that I cover the bases where they are concerned. You know, regular after work hours, of course, you know, I'm the play pal in the family, you know, so kids like to play, I play. You know, my 17-year-old even now, I force to play because I think it's an important part when she gets a little older in a relationship. She'll have to play. So she needs to know how to relate to an adult male just the same. So I push the mantle and, you know, she tell me I am annoying and all, but hey, it's part of the role, you know. So, you know, watching TV, playing Xbox, you know, the road trips, sports day, you know, never miss one, birthdays. As I be said, boy, I can't miss those kind of things, you know. So there's a time that you have to focus on lockdown, but certainly you have to ensure that you put the children in a different points in time. You can't just always lock away yourself and say, boy, I can't talk to you now. It will impact their confidence. It will impact their self-esteem. So for me, recognizing that, you know, I keep them at the forefront of every decision.
Definitely, Chris. Definitely. And I mean, I can say, for instance, I mean, you know, like you mentioned the trips and the road trips. I look at a special day. I mean, especially for the ladies, Valentine's Day is a special day for the ladies, right? And I have my two girls, and I make sure before I pick them up on a Valentine's Day, if it's on a school day, I make sure to get them rose and them chocolate because I want them to know that they are loved. And you know, when they get older and the man dating them must know that Valentine's is not no whatever day. It's a day that you're supposed to show them some love. So definitely, you know, I want to tell those fathers out there. And so for the fathers who are giving the comments, I'm seeing Andrew, Connor, Ryan, Trong. Keep the comments coming, guys. We're enjoying it. And so I'm going to turn over to Ivy now because I know as a single dad, I mean, we're just as single dads are good as single moms. You know, and so Ivy, for those single dads who are online now, what advice would you give to them in terms of how they chart their way forward, in terms of them being a dad and being good at it? You know, for those persons tuning in, what advice would you give to those single dads now?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a learning process. You know, there's no book. I mean, I'm sure that you have a lot of books out there, but there's no set thing to say this is what you have to do and so forth. You know, listen to your kid. But just to touch a bit on, especially where COVID is concerned, and when I started working from home, and you know, when quarantine started in March, it made me appreciate teachers a lot more. You know, it made me appreciate the things that they go through. You know, trying to have that structure at home to say, okay, you know, this is lesson time. Okay, and you know, this is the same thing. Chris was just talking about. Okay, at this time that it has to be doing work, etc. You know, and putting that in place, and then ensuring as well, because we can't go to the parks anymore or go outside to play with neighbor, to ensure that we have structured time to play football or you know run around the house, etc. You know, so I mean, it's just you ensuring that you have that support. So being a single dad, it's really important to have a good relationship with the mom as well in terms of that you co-parent with, and that's one of the things I've been really grateful in terms of having that structure, having that support there. Because yes, as a single dad, you know a lot is going to be on you, but know that as well, you know you are not alone. I don't know if it's my parents being from Africa, but it takes a village to raise a child. So, you know, my friends, I have a tribe. I call them a tribe now. I don't call them friends anymore. They're family or a tribe. You know, we're coming from high school, UE, etc. I'm the only one out of the unit that's a dad, but you know, they're so supportive. You know, they'll find material. Somebody will send a material to say, hey, you know, read this to Zion or read this to Sierra. I saw some tips, etc. You know, so just having that support there, having that unit that cares. You know, one of the things I'm grateful for is having, you know, good godparents that aren't, you know, you'll have godparents that will just are more about giving gifts, but others that are really involved as well. So I've been fortunate to having a good tribe around me. And, you know, in terms of as it relates to co-parenting, I've been really fortunate to co-parent very well. Because one of the most important thing, being a single parent and co-parenting, is just remembering that the most important thing is your child. So, and as long as you don't forget that, you don't have any issues at all. You're not always gonna agree on everything, but as long as you just always keep that in mind, that the most important thing is the child. Okay, how do we move forward to making whatever that decision is?
Definitely, and I agree with the village. We definitely need the village to help us to raise those kids, and the support system is very important, and it helps us to, to be better fathers as well. So, Wayne, I remember, I think it was in 2018, we had done a Father's Day series, and we did an interview with you at the time, and you had mentioned that you thought your dad was very strict and rough. I mean, what lessons could you share with us that you took from your relationship you had with your dad? What are some of those lessons you would want to share with us?
Well, I mean, speaking to that point of him being strict and rough, I think I was the one who brought out those traits out of him because I was rude and disobedient a lot of the times. And when you become a father, you realize that you, as the father, you have to, be very stern, especially if if you find that the kid is not listening, you have to be stern. So I guess I have children now of my own who are very, what else, very energetic. That's how I'll put it. I have one named Atlas who don't give us a break, and there's never a done moment. So I get to realize that what my father was doing was because he had to do it. And I don't see it now looking back as strict and rough anymore. I just see it as him being the father and turning up and doing what he had to do to get me in line. So yeah, I guess that lesson stands out. The fact that discipline is a must. I have boys of different age groups. I have a 17-year-old who parent him different from how I would parent my 7-year-old, and I feel like I have all sons, so the same goes for me. Especially 7 different brothers, 7 different minds. So I have to look at all of them individually and deal with them individually because all of them are different personalities and require a different kind of level of parenting. And yeah, what can I say? Many a lesson I've learned from my father. My father is the ultimate jack of all trades. He's a man where could have fixed the pipe. Him could have, if the tile missing, him could have fixed it. And he was a great man, bright man. So I always want to emulate him. I always want to learn and show my kids that you're never too old to learn. So I pick up those little traits from my father as well too.
Okay, great. So I'm seeing some comments coming in, and I just want to share some of the comments as well. I mean, thank God for all the children are now grown and up and on their own. That was from Linford. I'm also seeing Renee saying, boy, born, raised, and live in Jamaica. And when I travel to different places, I'm sometimes asked if it's true that Jamaican men don't take care of their children. It's just sad. I mean, Geraldine said, don't make promises. Children never forget. Well done, Chris. You're on the right track. Where are the ladies to pick up the real men? I'm sure they're online, and we just want to ensure that we're getting the love from our ladies, and they're bigging us up. I mean, there's Camille saying, yes, a tribe is required. I love that IB. Especially boys, you have to be a little stricter with them, and I think that somebody's supporting what Wayne is saying. So definitely, we're getting some excellent feedback from our viewers online. I mean, I've seen them coming in. I mean, there's Geraldine asking as well. Do you think that your 17-year-old son gets too quiet? I think that would be for Wayne. Wayne, would you want to answer that?
He's probably, you see, because we do this vlog and he's just getting kind of used to life in front of the camera. He's 17 years old, and yes, he appears quiet on camera, but a lot of the times off camera we have banter back and forth. We go for drive out, and we reason back and forth. So it's not anything to worry about. Don't remember the vlog is only 20 minutes of the day. But I mean, in a perfect world for me, he would be more outspoken, a little more animated. But that, I mean, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. He's a great kid. That's what matters.
Yes, I see somebody saying as well on a comment coming in that, big up the real men, and also that, when that pick up after school is very priceless, and I can agree to that. And, we have to lead by examples. So we continue to take the comments on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and we're loving. I've seen a lot of comments coming in. I mean, I see they picking up IB for an excellent discussion and stuff like that. So definitely there is an emotional connection that we have with our kids. And I can actually relate to that, because I know, for instance, when the kids are going to bed, one of the things that I love to do, and it's to read that story to them, say a prayer with them, tucking them into bed and giving them a reassurance that, look, I mean, this is something that you ought to be doing. I mean, I know they pray at school, but you see that little time when you have to tuck them into bed and you read the stories for them. I mean, I have a teenager now, but she's heading into teenager now, and I find that, well, the story is not really connecting much with her anymore. But I have a 6-year-old as well, and she loves the story. And when you read the stories to her and you see her falling and getting into bed, and you're talking to her and you pray with her, that is something that you can't put a price on. It's just something that you get that connection, and you look forward to doing that on a nightly basis with them. And when you get that opportunity, there are times that I may miss it because I may be out at a function or working late, but there's that connection that we get with our kids. And so I wanted to get from you as well. What was your first reaction when you found out that you were going to be a dad? If you could share with us.
Wow, I would never forget. I was like, I'm not ready for this. At the time, I was working at Reneville. I was brand manager at Reneville. I was partying. Going to this, that function. I was 25. Being a parent was the last thing in my mind, and I remember like, whoa, like what's going on? I have to be. If I go to Mega Mart, I have to walk past the Hennessy aisle and go to the Pampers aisle, but it totally changed my life. I mean, just the moment. So that I would never forget that first day, just the reality of what's going to happen. And then just automatically, I just go into, yes, this is it. I'm ready. And it totally changed my life, because the path that I was heading down before I became a parent, I was just living for the moment, just enjoying life. I would have had, let's say, a 5-year professional goal, but I wasn't really planning long term to say, okay, being really deliberate with my plans. Say, okay, I'm breaking down my 5-year plan, where I'm gonna be, what I want to accomplish, and so forth. And just everything changed that moment, and just motivated me to, how I want to be better. Wayne touched a bit on it in terms of children. They learn so much, not from what you say, but from what you do. Just from that moment, I started to tell myself like, okay, what I'm gonna do, how I treat someone, be it whether in business, and especially, let's say, my kid's mom, or any woman at all. This is what I'm going to teach my son, how he should speak to a woman, or how I'm going to teach my daughter how a man should speak to her. So, or how I'm going to teach them how they should do business, etc. So, I was so grateful for that moment. Like, it totally changed my life in terms of a direction I was headed to, to where I'm at today. I would not be where I'm at today if until I became a parent.
Yeah, definitely. Wayne, there's a question coming in from Damian Brown. I'm going to pose it to you. It says, what is the most common mistake or area of improvement that as men you come across in raising kids? What is the most common mistake or area of improvement that as men I mean, well, as a man, you come across in raising your kids? That's a question from Damon, bro.
Yes, so that would be even from my perspective as a father, or what I observe fathers making. Well, I'd probably say being too strict and not balancing the love and that stern hand, you know. Um, I observe a lot of fathers going to extreme measures to try and discipline their children before them think of creative ways that they can get across the same message and the same sort of discipline. It's hard to say, yo, I discipline my children, you know, or, you know, if them out of line, I might have to spank them here and there. But spanking is relative, because you can flog, you can torture a child and think that, oh, I'm spanking them to discipline them. Or you can just give them a tat and make them know, say, listen, out of line, get back in line, you know? So I think that's a mistake. I mean, I would have to probably give it a little bit more thought to see if I could dig up a few more mistakes that we fathers make, you know. Not being present, a lot of fathers feel like because they have to be the provider, they need to go off for 3 years and never. I mean, sometimes in some cases that it happens, you know, some jobs take us away from the household because we have to provide, you know, and that is all well and good, but you must know that being there, so you have to find ways, you know, we're in a modern world now where we can video call, and, you know, as who said it earlier, IB said that we stream same time, we watch Netflix, you are over there and I'm over here in the world, and we still can keep that bond and keep that interaction alive. There's no excuses nowadays, you know. So yeah, those are two mistakes I can think of.
Yes, thanks, Wayne. Thanks for that. Very good response. Chris, tell us, what's the difference in terms of the relationship you have with your daughter versus your son?
Well, I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, so there's a big age divide. So the relationship is a little bit different now. My daughter, as it is right now, the relationship is a relaxed one, a conversational one where, you know, I'm more introducing her to the type of topics that you know, as an adult she will be engaged in. You know, so even Family Matters now, she's part of Family Matters now. I'm running ideas by her, and I think she appreciates that because it gives her a sense of belonging and empowerment as well, knowing that she can also influence family decisions. My son being 6-year-old now, it's really a matter of playing, you know, playing and learning. So I use that as an opportunity to guide him, you know, to steer him in the right path. Because for me, and it's sort of piggybacking on even the question you asked a while ago, it's not about being too hard and to say, this is what I want and how it must be done, type of a relationship. For me, it's knowing who your child is and just being that you know, outer band, you know, to guide them. So they bump on the side, you know, you sort of push them back towards the middle, you know, because at the end of the day, each child is different and the relationship is different, and how we approach that relationship, you know, has to be different as well. You just have to keep that in mind and at the forefront of, you know, your interactions with the kids.
Definitely. And Chris, in terms of you being a father, how has it changed your life how has it impacted you overall, being a dad?
It was life-changing, quite frankly. I mean, reality hit. I remember when my wife was pregnant and we were both lying on Sunday evening, lying on the bed watching TV, and I reached for the remote across her stomach. And you know, my wife has never hit me. And I got a slap on the hand, you know, just by reaching across her tummy. You know that was a reality check for me. The importance she placed on the child even from in the womb. You know, for me, when my daughter was born, you know, I recognized that, you know, sacrifice and you know, commitment on a whole new meaning. You when you realize that this life now depends on you, looking to you to protect, to guide, to provide for. It's a life-changing experience, and I think one that I appreciate, one that I love, and it has allowed me to grow as a person. It has settled me down to a significant degree. It has caused me to think beyond myself, to the wider community, because now it's easier to empathize with persons out there with a family, facing challenges, or the children are going through, particular issues. So I think all in all, it has just made me a completely better person.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Chris. Definitely. I'm going to pose this question to IB, because I know, I remember when I was about to get my first child, it was something that came up in my head. It's normal to be scared being a father, IB, but what was your biggest fear being a father?
I guess my biggest fear the first time would have been, am I ready? Just so many things were going through my head, am I ready? I remember the first time when the nurse came out with Zion, and she was like, "You can hold." I was so scared to hold him. I was just like, I don't know, I don't want to drop him. Just so many emotions going through my mind, just to make sure that, okay, want to have things as perfect as possible. Just so many things are going through my head. Like, all right, it's the crib. I bought the crib like months out. I was so excited. I'd never forget at Renov. There's a Lauryn Hill song to Zion. I used to play it every day at the office. And, so just different things, different emotions. But the excitement and just the fear that you don't want to fail, and you want to make sure that, you're there right throughout, in every way possible.
Yes, thanks for that. So, I mean, and I can relate to that definitely. I remember the excitement of going to get the crib and stuff like that. But I mean, personally, and I saw a question, a comment coming in from my sister, Shinia Cousins, as well on the live. I lost my father at the age of 5. I mean, so I was brought up by my mom. And I think it still affects me growing up now, in terms of I try as much as possible to ensure that what I didn't get growing up without a father, I push myself so hard that I ensure that my children get that love, and that I'm always trying very hard to ensure that they're happy, and I protect them, because I don't really have that the bond between a dad and a son, because I didn't have my father. I mean, my mom was like my dad, and my grandmother was like my mom. But one of the things that I've always committed, and I've always said to myself, that I'm going to give my children what I didn't get from a father. And that is something that I hold very, very dear to my heart. And I mean, I saw the comment coming in from my sister, and it just brought me back to say, this is something that I've always wanted, to ensure that whenever time I have children, I mean, I didn't get the opportunity to ride with my dad. I didn't get the opportunity to go on travel with my dad. And I ensure that I give my children that opportunity, because I think it's so important for a father to be in a child's life, and it's something that I really hold very dear to my heart, and it's something that I think that every dad out there tonight, I mean, sometimes we have relationship may kind of separate us or set us apart from our children, but I just want to encourage all our dads out there to ensure that they're being active players in their children's life, and ensure that we are being the provider, the protector, and role model, because they do look up to us as fathers. And I'm seeing the comments coming in. A lot of I see Sharika Wilson saying here, a lot of men make the mistake in thinking that giving money is the only and best thing they are doing for their kids. Children need emotional support, and I totally agree with Sharika. They need someone to trust and talk to. Money alone can't raise children. Do you agree with that, Wayne?
Yeah, man. No, man. Definitely, man. As I said before, you have to be careful how much you think that just being a provider fulfills the equation of being a father. It's not money alone. Um, and a different note, I, as a musician, kind of playing my part as a musician for kind of encourage the fathers out there. So I have a song that I wrote, You Are My Father. When my father did it to him and all of the fathers who are showing up in the lives of their children. So I'm going to bust a little piece because I'm sure no say IB or Chris or Alwyn can't sing like me. Them know about the banking and the investment, but they can't sing like me. So I say, you love so hard with arms wide open. You are my rock. You are my mountain. Your sacrifices go unseen. You're such a beautiful human being. You're the gift that keeps on giving. You're my father. Mama still had that look in her eyes when you walked in the room. She loves you just as much as she did on your honeymoon. The sacrifices that you made, you tried to hide but couldn't conceal. Daddy, your love and protection is all we could feel. You love so hard. You see, the mothers have so many songs out there. It's only fear that the fathers get some songs now where they can represent, and feel celebrated.
Definitely. Big up yourself for that, Wayne. Marshall is in town.
Oh,
Big up
you
yourself.
mean?
Great, great, great. Respect that. So Wayne, so do you believe
Yeah.
that fathers they set the bar for their children, to manage their own they set the bar for how their children manage their own relationships as they get older? If so, how so do you think that they should set that bar very high for how their children manage their own relationship? Do you believe that the fathers set the bar for how their children manage their own relationship?
I'm sorry. When coming in, it's kind of clipping. I'm not hearing you fully, but I believe you're asking if we set the bar for the
For how
relationships,
our children
for how
manage
they
their
view
own relationship.
relationships.
Yeah, manage their own relationship.
Definitely. No, well, definitely. And I feel like it begins in the immediate family structure. So how I deal with Tammy, who is the mother of my kids, how I deal with Regina, who is Giamar's mother. So I'm in a co-parenting situation as well. Yeah, obviously the kids live what they learn. So when they see you maintaining solid relationships with those around, when they see, I mean, it's not just even the immediate family structure that they will emulate how you interact with people, but when we go on the road, how we open the door for elderly woman coming through, how we react to people who we may encounter on a day-to-day basis. These are the things that they are learning. Then they might not write down notes, but they are taking it on somewhere. And yes, we definitely do set the bar for how they will interact eventually. As I say, I like to lead by example. So the respect that I want my kids to have for people and for their relationships and for their family and friends, I always try my best to display it, especially when they're around me and we're in that situation.
Right, and in the same breath, Wayne, could you also give us some examples in terms of how you influence your children?
Well, I mean, as I said, when we go on the road, I just try to be that guy who I want them to be. Um, I want them to see the work ethic that I put in. Right now, we basically we're a whole family. We have a whole family vlog that kind of allows us to, it's almost like a job. And the house is so fun, and I just try to make every interaction and influence that will positively affect them in life. So yeah, I mean, the influence never stops. Every interaction, every time we go out, every time I wake up, every time them come and hug me up, I just try to reflect something that I want them to be.
Definitely. I'm seeing some comments coming in. There's RS on Facebook asking, how do you manage the time spent with each child without making one feel neglected, as each are at different stage and would need a different kind of attention? IB, how do you deal with something like that?
Boy, well, before Zion moved up here, before he migrated, he went to the same school as his sister. One of the things, so I have a very close relationship with my little brother. And what my mother would tell me was, I'm supposed to look after JR. So that's the type of relationship I cultivated from an early age. So Zion, so when they were even at the same daycare, Sierra would give trouble and Zion would be the one. Every day you get report Zion beat up somebody because Sierra was troubling someone. So, I cultivate that relationship. I would always, so in the mornings, we have different words of affirmation. You're smart, you're a king, you're hardworking, who do you love, etc. and so forth. So as part of those words of affirmation I would have with Zion and also with Sierra is that, remember your big brother is supposed to look after your sister. So, they have that closeness with each other where he's just always looking after her. And she has that closeness with Zion as well. But she's a little rougher, but in terms of, so I don't really have that issue in terms of one feeling neglected or not, because they're so loving. Whenever they're apart, even like now, because you can't travel with everything that's going on, it's so hard for them. Them expressing, Daddy, when am I seeing Zion? Zion, when am I, when am I seeing Sierra, etc. So I've never really encountered that. I don't know if maybe the older that they get, I hope it doesn't change, but I've never really encountered that.
Yes, definitely. And one of the things I can say, because for my two girls, so 11 and 6, so one of the things I do to ensure that I'm not cheating any of them is that swimming, they both love swimming. They both love swimming. So what I do, if I want to ensure that they have a good time on a Saturday, we all go to the pool and we play and fun and have swim together, and to ensure that a Saturday is dedicated for swimming and to ensure that we're bonding and each of them, because there are times where they fight with each other because they're at different age and who like to watch this versus that. But I'll take a time for them to say, okay, we're going to do some swimming this weekend, and we ensure that we're bonding and we're doing things together to ensure that, and not cheating one or the other, because at times, I mean, there's one who is more talkative and there's one who is a little bit reserved, and you have to know how to deal with each of your child, and you have to understand them as well. And so what you do, or what I've done and I've seen it work, is that I try to find something that both of them love. So I mean, one may love to go to eat ice cream, but one would prefer to go to Kid Craze to get something different. You try to kind of balance it, and you say, all right, try what the big one loves, and you try and kind of balance it, and you ensure that you're not really cheating, and ensuring that you're basically giving them the same love and attention. So I think that is something that we can share with our dads and our parents listening on tonight. And definitely I'm seeing the comments coming in. Wayne, you had a hit tonight. People are bigging you up for your song there. Everybody love it there. I'm seeing Don Hell live from New York. So we've gone international. We're getting people from New York as well. So definitely it has been a good, discussion so far. And so I just want to move on to know financial and more the financial aspect, because as men, we tend to internalize things, and women, they say they're better at managing finances, and we know that we're good at managing finances as well, but we don't go about and we brag about it and stuff. So we definitely, if we're having a little challenge, we know that we'll internalize it. The ladies will come to you and they'll tell you that, boy, you know, this is happening. But men, we kind of okay it up and we man up and we say, boy, we're not sure it. We're going to try to fight it and deal with it. But finances is an important part, and ensuring that you're doing your little saving and ensuring that you're providing for your children. So I'm going to go to Christopher now to ask him what tips, can you give to fathers who about financial planning for themselves and their family to ensure that we're keeping track of those finances and we can ensure that the education is taken care of, the vacation when it comes up in summer. COVID kind of wild that out now. But, you know, what advice would you give to those fathers in terms of financial planning?
All right. Well, let me just clarify what is financial planning, because people might hear the term and just feel a little bit intimidated by you just saying financial planning. So it's really just taking the time to sit down and assess your own, financial situation. To consider your goals, your objectives, and put a plan in place to implement, what you want to achieve, for your kids or, for your family, for your future in general. The best advice I can actually give anyone is that you really do need to start. So for those who haven't done so, you actually need to take a moment to start, right? Your goals have to be realistic. It's all too often when I'm talking to someone and I ask them the question, what are your goals? And the response I tend to get is that, boy, I want to be rich. And I'm saying, boy, you need to start somewhere lower than that, And the question is ironic because a number of times these persons are the ones who are, aren't able to pay routine bills or to fund, the child's education. So your goals really don't start at a high level. It start, at the step right above where you are. So if it's about paying for school next year, then that's your initial goal. The question is now, what are the steps that are you going to actually take to get yourself to that place where you can afford to pay, for the schooling of a child when you get to that particular point in time. I'll going to talk about the men and having the comfort saying that they know how to do the financial planning, they can manage money. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of times they internalize and they don't know certain things and they really refuse to ask questions. So another advice I would give you, seek some advice. Speak to financial advisors. There are too many financial advisors out there now for you to tell me that you don't know anybody. JMB has a whole lot of quality financial advisors. Call one of them, right? And after you've actually sat down and have that discussion, with that advisor, then it's in a better place to make certain decisions, around your life, around the financial aspects of your life. And thereafter, it's really up to you now to implement. The final point I'll make here is perhaps the hardest for many, is to be disciplined about it. So implement the plan. It's easy to get distracted, by what you consider a need when it's really a want. I'll give you a personal example. When I remember saving for my daughter's education, and she was young, I said, boy, I'm going to start young, and I was motivated and energized around saving, for her college. You start earlier, it's some time, you're good in 18 years. And I remember I said, okay, fine, this part of the money is for her. And the first opportunity for a little business venture came up, and I just cleaned up everything, and it went that way. It never came back. So it taught my listener as well to try and itemize your goals, and separate them as best as you can. So now I actually created something separate for her, for her college education. Coming out of that learning, my son now have done the same thing. So it's no longer commingled with the family resources, so to speak. So I keep that, out of sight, out of mind, so and I try to be committed now to their future, and having the resources for their future requires that commitment and the discipline, to know that I'm saving for that, so I'm leaving that there, regardless of what else is happening overall.
Yeah, definitely true. Definitely true, Chris. Definitely. See, and a lot of people bigging you up for your that advice. Camille is saying solid advice, Chris. Have your specific goals and remain focused. Arlie saying, like Tammy said this morning, pencil out everything and use those envelope and try not to live above your budget. So true. Always have a budget in place and ensure that you're sticking to that budget. And I mean, at JMMB, I know that we're big on ensuring that in terms of our financial advice we give to our clients, we ensure that each client do a budget to ensure that you're keeping within your means and you're setting aside those savings to ensure that you can meet up to your education goals. We have a lot of goals conversation within the JMMB network. You can come in and sit down with our advisors and talk about your education plan. If you want to do a vacation, if you want to further your own education and stuff, just come in and speak to a financial advisor. So Chris, for that dad out there tonight who is struggling and not able to make ends meet to that family, what is your advice to that dad tonight?
So I would say again, firstly, you need to seek advice because you're in a particular situation. At that point, you must recognize that, you're not too sure how to come out of it. So, there's wisdom in counsel. Again, a financial advisor can assist you in that regard. So I definitely ask that you go and see one. Now, when you mention a budget, it's an important aspect of any financial planning exercise. You must have a budget. You're getting an income, you need to see where the money is going. And that is the only way you're going to actually be able to identify, are you really spending on what you need, or are you spending on wants as well? Because when you're in that tight space, you need to itemize. You need to have that checklist. I can share that. I perhaps still can find, I used to have a little notebook, early when I got married, and you would be able to find every single month when my wife and I got paid, the entries there and all of the bills, and I'm crossing out what should be paid, can be paid, must be paid now versus what I can set aside for later, and the little extra money I'm getting from setting aside something till a later date. I'm saving that, and I don't want to go back and touch it because it's savings. So I have to pay that from the next income stream. So you need to put that budget together to be able to identify, the room in your budget. I remember many years ago, I actually did a presentation, and finishing up the presentation, a middle-aged woman looked at me and she said, "You can't go and talk." She can't find nothing in her budget. And I remember I was there and I laughed and I said, "All right, fine. You willing to talk to me now?" And she said, "Okay, fine." And we sat down and she went through everything. And I can tell you, we found $500. She got paid fortnightly. And I said, "Hey, what? Save that $500. Right? All right, fine. She's going to commit to saving that $500. Around 4 or 5 years later, I'm at the office signing some forms, investment, clients who invest, and we're giving them statements and stuff like that. And I saw the name and I said, "I know this name." Call the lady. She had changed job. They gave me her new number and I called her. And I said, "Is it you?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Wait, how did this come about?" And the one thing she said to me was that after she identified that 500 and she started to save, it started putting her a discipline to save, which is really part of our major challenges that we face. We're not disciplined enough. So because of that discipline that she developed, that $500, that $1,000 a month, grew incrementally over time. She got a little increase. And one of the things I've always told people, if you're in a tight financial fix and you get some additional income or your salary raise, don't just start spending because you say you're already in a tight situation. Right? That extra income, you're already living without it. Set it aside. Put it down as best as you can, even if it's 25% of it. Put it aside. You have to be disciplined in your approach. My wife might kill me for saying this. Early in our marriage, we had an objective. That boy, when I work out the maths, minimum 5 years. Minimum 5 years. And I said, we had a conversation with her, and I got her to agree to say, "Listen to me. We're going to ban with belly for 5 years." And boy, I can tell you, I got the pushback throughout the 5 years, but she supported, the goal that we had and the discipline, that we wanted to stand behind. So no partying, no traveling, no movies, nothing. It's just work, spend on the critical bills. That's it. We're able to achieve the goal a little bit 4 or 5 years, but it requires discipline and sacrifice. So if you're in this kind of situation, I can't tell you that's going to be an easy fix, but what I can tell you is there is always a possibility of getting out of it. But it requires a certain discipline. It requires you making that sacrifice and being willing to make that sacrifice. Again, start at getting the counsel that you require.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that discipline and ensure that you're doing that saving. And that's Geraldine on one of the comments from Geraldine. She said, it's not what you earn, what is what you save. Yep. Very powerful. So, I mean, you're a banker and you're a father. What recommendations can you give on managing those funds when it gets financially challenging to a dad or a family? Just give us your recommendations.
Yeah, it's pretty much having a budget. And Chris mentioned before, it's just going through, because sometimes you think that you can't save, but if you go through, you realize that, boy, last month, this is how much you're spending on eating out, or this is how much you're spending on whether makeup or this and that, or this is what you're spending on things that you don't need to spend on. And it just one of the things I always tell myself is you have to do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. So if you have a goal to say, okay, you're purchasing a home in 5 years, or you want to build that dream house in 10 years, or whatever that financial goal, so you have to do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. But just to segue the point a little bit, from a financial standpoint, not just for myself, but also what I've done to teach my kids about managing finance is their piggy bank, and then from their piggy bank to their bank account. So whenever, like, say, for their birthdays, when Zion or Sierra, they get money from whichever relative, I would ask and say, okay, recently Zion's birthday was in June. I said, so you got that $50. What are you going to do? You're going to buy $50 worth of ice cream. So Zion, yeah, I'm going to save most of it, Daddy. And I said, yes. So it's never too early to try and instill in terms of that financial discipline, that financial planning. How saving is important. That yes, you can save, you can spend a little, but you need to save. Start from early. So those are things that I think that are really important for us as dad. And as Chris mentioned as well, don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to get help. You have a lot of different financial planners out there. As a JMMB client, I can say, Shaquille, I'm in great hands there. But yeah, so don't be afraid to get help. One of the really great advice I'll give is as it relates to where college saving. It's never too early to start saving, and it's never too late to start saving. Some of us didn't get that opportunity in terms of our parents giving us something to start college with, but let us change that cycle, because at the end of the day, our parents sacrifice for us to be better, to live a better life than they live, and it's on us now to ensure that we are preparing our kids to have a better life than the one that we're currently living or that we went through. Start that college saving. It's not too early. I know some you can start with as little as a $5,000 or $50 or even more. So even if you can't, if your financial situation, if you're looking at the projection, you can't give them a start to cover the 4 years of college. Even if it's a 1 year or 2 year, to say, okay, I'm gonna cover your first 2 years of college. Boy, try and get a scholarship to cover the other 2, or whatever the case may be. But it's important that we give our kids that head start in terms of that discipline, as it relates to where planning for their finances concerned, and also giving them something to start within life when they're finished with school.
Definitely, for real. Wayne, in terms, how do you in terms of for savings for your children, just give us some advice in terms of your advice or encouragement for them to ensure that they start saving as early as possible. What advice do you give to them, and how do you do it, if you want to share with us?
I haven't really started to really instill, well, I mean, besides the piggy bank and the fact that they can, you know, give me back what I give them to put down aside if they want to save towards a certain gift card or a certain goal. Um, I'm really here taking notes, man, and I really think that I've been doing it on my own for long enough. I think I need to come give Chris a check in the week, because there's always more. There's always more ways to, and then as you say, you can't do it. No man is an island, and financial advisors are paid to do a job, and that's advice what is right now. I want to fund my savings and building on setting new goals. The kids are getting older, closer and closer to college, and I want to look at more diverse ways to expand my portfolio where finances is concerned. And as Chris said, as IB said, the discipline, we have to have the discipline. Is not necessarily, I mean, so if I'm,
I think, man.
you hearing me?
I think you're breaking up a little bit, but I think we get the point that you're making.
Okay, cool. No, Chris, I'm just saying that I'm gonna come check you. So listen out.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. You should, and everybody on the live is actually agreeing with you, Wayne. They definitely want to come and check Chris. So, Chris, I'm sure tomorrow we'll have a line outside waiting for you. Everybody wants to get that financial advice from you. So definitely, and it's, as D Dan said, it's hard, but every dollar counts.
Yes,
Start now, even if it's small. And so I think this tonight has been I mean, the discussion tonight has been very interesting. I mean, this month is a series of man talk, and we started out today with fatherhood, and definitely based on the comments from our viewers online, I mean, they've been excellent, and I'm sure this live feed will be posted on our channels. That's Twitter, Facebook, and not IG, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and that's at the JMB group. And once you get onto those channels, you'll definitely see the discussion that we had today. And seeing Andrew saying piggy bank, birthday, and Christmas gifts are great ways to get into a habit of savings. So definitely, I want to thank you guys, Chris, Wayne, IB, for the very fruitful discussion that we had today. I think it was very useful, and I'm sure a lot of dads out there who tuned in and the wider community did learn a lot from the discussion. It was very fruitful. I definitely enjoyed it. I just want to say thanks to all three gentlemen for joining us tonight on the JMB Goal Get Alive. So this month is a series of man talk, and I'm sure by the end of our mid next week, the team will be posting our next topic for next week, Tuesday, and the various guests and hosts. And so we definitely want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for your comment. We really like the vibes, and for you sharing the comments and giving us the feedback as well. It was great having you tonight. This webinar was very, very good, and I thought it was, I mean, it brought a lot of things out in me for sure, because it brought me back some memories back into the day. So definitely I want us to continue to join our weekly webinars. JMB is here as your financial partner. We're always here to support you, give you sound financial advice. Our team is ready and waiting for the cause and ensuring that we can guide you through. I mean, we're going through a pandemic now, and the time is, I mean, there's even more uncertainties now than ever before. And this is now a time when you want your financial partner to be with you, supporting and guiding you through this pandemic, because you need to get the solid advice and to ensure that whatever savings you have, you know, if anything should happen, because we really don't know how this pandemic will end. We'll have something there to kind of, you know, to draw on if anything should happen. And so we continue to be there for our clients and remain focused on ensuring that we're giving the sound advice. And so we just want for you to continue to be joining the live. And I really appreciate you joining us again. And so it's goodbye from us tonight. And thanks again for joining us on the JMB Goal Getter Live. Bye, guys. See you next week.